Hi, ever wonder what it's like to work another profession or live in the underworld? Listen to unsuspecting riders give a 10 to 15 minute personal masterclass as I spontaneously interview them as they enter my taxi. I'm your host, Simon Rushton, and this is Taxi Chronicles. Morning. Yes, we're back with another rider, another episode. Today we have an interesting guy here with a lovely wife, and he's going to tell us about their family record business that they have, making records or pressing records, and how long they've had it and why they started it. So nice to have you here today, Peter.
Hi, my name's Peter. I run a company called BBE Music. I started out doing parties and events in London in about 1988, and then eventually started a record label in 1996 of BBE Limited, and it's named after one of my favorite boogie records by New York legendary boogie disco writer and production team, Leroy Burgess and Patrick Adams, and the song's called Barely Breaking Even, and it's about living for the weekend, making your paycheck, going out, spending it, having a good time at the weekend. And then since then I've gone on to release hundreds of records, various people from Jay Dilla, DJ Jazzy Jeff, will.i.am, Charles Mingus, Roy Ayers, Hugh Masekela, lots of Japanese jazz reissues, lots of African reissues, just a variety of stuff.
So are you making these songs and making the records, or you just...
So I started out doing compilations mainly, so I'd compile records. So back in the late 80s, the rare groove scene was popular and stuff, so I put together some compilations in that style. I did some hip-hop ones, and I did some soul ones and jazz ones. Okay. But then eventually, when I'd accumulated enough money, I was able to get other people to sign their records for the label. And so especially because we started back in the 90s when vinyl was way more popular. I pressed them. So if I came to you as an artist and you wanted to release a record, I would press your record on vinyl and put it out. Nowadays it's more digital driven, so it's Spotify and Apple Music and Deezer and all the rest of the stuff. But there is still a demand for physical product. I guess people kind of like, well, not necessarily older people, but younger people are buying records too as well.
So how have you managed with the transition? Because obviously you're focusing on a niche market with records,
yeah,
which, I love. I've got some really old albums in the house. I found when I was doing the Dustman. Someone threw out all the Michael Jackson and all the Boogie Nights and all those kind of
Heat Wave and all that stuff. Yeah.
So how have you managed to stay?
Well, the key thing I think is having enough original material to generate the streaming income. You can with some compilations get streaming rights to music depending on who owns the original rights, but it's always easier if you can create your own momentum with your own original material and generate more attention and more income to what you're doing.
What would you say, so you've been around for a long time, you're talking from the 80s, 88 to now, which is nearly...
Yeah, too long.
Yeah, it's a very long time. What would you say you've learned that you wish you knew when you had started?
Oh, goodness me. It's just a better understanding of how money works. I think, one of the tricky things with life and, the current form of economy that we have, capitalism, is that you need to, the more assets you own, the better. So you can license stuff, which is more like leasing a car, but you won't own it. And what you need to do is at least even if you don't own it, have a longer control over what you do, and that gives you the chance to keep making money from some of the same products. Have some family jewels, as it were, in your crown. And if you're a young person starting up, I mean, it's certainly easier. It was easier then than it is now. If you were starting a business and you could buy your premises, that's always a very good thing to do, because at least you have some assets. So that gives you the power and the control that you need to be able to access more cash to do what you need to do, to invest in stuff. And obviously especially now with the pandemic, has put more away for a rainy day, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. That brings in line to, if there's a young person who's going to start a business, what would be your advice to him in regards to what you do?
In regards to what I do, I think you have to understand your craft, understand the nature of your business, and be aware of what your limitations and your strengths are, because you're always going to hit pitfalls. So you need to be able to understand how to deal with when times are not good, and you need to, obviously cement your stronger characteristics. And it sounds like a generalized answer, but that's basically the truth. If you don't protect what you have the best, then you lose that, then you don't have anything to stand on. If you are not very good at promoting yourself, then you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to speak, you have to learn how to be eloquent, you have to learn how to stay humble. There's lots of things, because for a lot of people, it's like sports, which you mentioned earlier on before the podcast started, is sometimes you have just a window. There's very few people who have a long career, as Stevie Wonder or someone who's been making music and still, made it enough to keep going without having to compromise their integrity.
I hear you. Do you mentor? You ever considered mentoring if you don't?
I have done a little bit in the past, when I started out helping out kids via street teams, or just coming into the office for work experience, etc. People who were interested in learning more about not just music, not necessarily making music, but how to understanding what it's all about. And there's a very wide range of elements of music. There's the admin side, there's the actual performance side, there's the promotional side, and understanding how the whole puzzle fits together.
Okay, that's good. What's the impact you would want to have on the world? You seem like you've been making changes already, or making an impact. What's that impact?
Well, for me, a lot of it was just about unity and like-minded people, and doesn't matter, background. I started out doing clubs and events before I started a record label in '96. So between '88 and '96 was just about getting people together, and just there were people that you might know, even a next door neighbor who had the same taste in music, but you never spoke, or you never had any common ground. And music has definitely been a very big unifying force. So I think that will be my thing, is just exposing people to stuff that they may like but they weren't aware of, and just having a nice community of people who, without sounding too much of a hippie, just kind of like like the same things, and wanted to, music being a common ground to bring people together.
I'm going to ask a bit of a dangerous question here.
Go ahead.
You said we, so I assume it's a team, you and your wife. What advice would you give people for working with the wife?
It's difficult. I wouldn't, I think working with anyone that's, a wife or a best friend and stuff, I think it's very difficult, because you maybe have to lay your boundaries in order not to get on top of each other's, in each other's way. But when I say we, I mean there's a team of us. There's about 7 or 8 of us in total, and that's the we I refer to. But working with a partner can be very tricky. I mean, you've got to, I think, set some boundaries and respect each other's, differences. Yeah.
Okay, so where can people find you? If someone's listening to this, a vinyl junkie, and they want to get in contact with you, where can they find you?
bbemusic.com is the website, and all the handles are at BBE Music. So for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's all the same URL. And yeah.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Much appreciated. We hope you liked that interview. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to get the latest daily episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economy and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources? Then listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you will hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m.